Ready?
Yep.
Hey everyone,
Hi.
we are back and we wanted to make a video following up one of our most popular videos, which is fake XY Evolutions boxes. So not really sure if you guys had, tons of issues with the XY Evolutions or whatever, but you guys love watching that video. And then really from that video, we get a lot of questions on Instagram, a lot of, DMs and emails and stuff like that saying, hey, I bought another set or I have these cards or I'm looking at this collection. Can you help me look through it and see if it's fake or not, right? And it makes it very hard for us to do as well. We'd love to give, our input. We'd love to help out, but we're not physically there. We can't see it. We're kind of seeing the same thing. So we're just trying to give advice on, hey, here are some of the things that you guys can do and some of the things that we look at when we buy stuff, right? So normally what I do is when I see something interesting, first thing I do is I call her over and I'm like, hey, check this out. This looks awesome. And she'll look at it and she'll be like, okay, that looks cool. Walk me through it. Tell me what it is. Yep, that looks cool. Second question is how much?
Yeah.
It's usually how much, right? So I think one of the things that we've started going through and looking at these collections over and over and, me asking you is, she'll kind of challenge me just to make sure I'm thinking through stuff and not getting too excited or jump on the first thing I see or anything like that. So we try to stick to these 3 or 4 different rules and 3 or 4 things that we just kind of, bounce off of each other and make sure that we're handling it in a very logical, non-emotional way, right? So the first thing that we really do is when we start looking at stuff is we talk to our sellers, right? So the people that we're buying from, we start a conversation. We don't just talk about product, but we ask them questions. Where did this come from? I explained to you like, hey, I met another person online and, we talked about, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm always telling her like, here's where they got their stuff. They've been collecting since they were a kid, or hey, they know nothing about it. They inherited a binder from whatever. And we kind of just go through that personally just to make sure we're comfortable, right? I personally feel like if you're selling something, you have a responsibility on that product. Whether you know about it or not, you should at least disclose that. If you found it in a box, right, you should at least tell me that you don't know anything about it. And, really that's on me, right? But we do talk about, the product, where they got it, if they're a collector, if they're just a reseller, just kind of to gauge the interest and their involvement in the product. I think that's really, really important. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and the history of the cars themselves.
Yeah. And we try to buy from people that are more passionate, like we are. So, less of, hey, I just found this. I'm trying to make a quick dollar. I know these are expensive, so I'm going to give you, 50 cards for $1,000. Well, buddy, these are all commons. You know nothing, right?
Yeah.
But it's really just, are they passionate about it? Do they care about it? Is it a product that, they've got their heart in? Because that actually solves a lot of the questions and a lot of the issues that, people have up front. So I would say talk to your seller, ask questions, ask about the history, ask about how much they know, ask about the involvement in the product. Not just looking at the price tag, but I think that's very, very important is, are they willing to stand behind their product that they're about to sell you, right? Whether it's, a stack of commons that you're buying or thousands of dollars of rare vintage cards, it doesn't really matter. That there should be some sort of pride and responsibility from the seller.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I think the second thing we go through, and this is where I might nitpick too much, but it's always served me well, right? That's just kind of my personality as well. And she's really my balance. Look for the details. And I can go down the rabbit hole. I can go down
the rabbit hole
Yeah.
all the time.
I can nitpick at every little thing. But I think the one thing I've taken away from this and the one thing I have to kind of show you is, hey, Pokemon cards are not perfect. And that's actually the biggest thing to look for. And that's always been the indicators of a good versus bad buy for us, right? A real versus fake buy, counterfeit or not, or whatever it is. Look for the imperfections, because as much as we would all love our Pokemon cards to be perfect, consistent, PSA 10s, every single card, Pokemon print quality is horrible.
Yeah.
And when I say horrible, just the consistency is horrible, right? So what you're looking for are the imperfections from all of the indicators that you hear about for PSA, grading and all that kind of stuff. Look for your corners, look for your centering, your alignment, look at the color gradient. Just if you were going to be grading these cards, look for all those details, because you want to see some imperfections, especially if you're grabbing cards in like a bulk, right? Those cards shouldn't be perfectly aligned, perfectly
Hold
centered.
on. You're telling me that if I see a whole lot of PSA 10 looking cards,
Yep.
I shouldn't trust it?
Correct. Correct. So, meaning, if they're graded, I would say trust them, look them
Right.
up, right? But if they're all perfectly centered, all perfectly aligned, you're looking at the back borders and they're all perfectly like mismatched or perfectly whatever, they're all completely consistent. That is extremely, extremely rare. If you're just buying a one-off card, that's a little bit different. You don't have a reference point. But if you're buying a lot of like, hey, here's 10 secret rares, and this is what I do a lot is, if we're buying someone's collection, and they're all like high-end cards, super rare cards, what I'll actually say is, hey, flip them over face down, right? Line up the back so all the edges are perfectly straight, and take a picture for me, right? Because what I'm looking for is the inconsistencies on the border alignment, because the centering will never be perfect card to card to card, especially in different batches. So here's a really good example. What I did is I grabbed just 4 random cards, and I actually cut the top borders off so we can line them up and you guys can see them a little bit easier. Let me see if they actually show up on camera. If not, we'll take a picture. But what you can see is, if you're looking at the card tops, right? The border alignment will be completely different from card to card. You can see that they're not all perfectly edged the same. There's a little bit, thinner border on this side, thicker border on this side, right? All the cards are going to be completely different in terms of centering and alignment. If they're not, and all your cards are, just perfectly misaligned from card to card, that's a huge indicator, because most counterfeit high-end cards are copied. And if they're copying the same back, that's why every back for their batch is going to look the same, right? It's just going to be that, that little bit off, but it's going to be the same card to card to card, okay? I would say the other thing that you're looking for is, if you're buying a bulk lot and it's all, commons and stuff like that, most people won't spend time copying 3-cent commons and uncommons, right?
Those are a little bit safer.
Those are a little bit safer for bulk, and if you're buying 10,000 cards and they may have like 5 or 10 or whatever mixed in, you're losing a couple bucks, not a big deal. Most people do copy more high-end cards. So this Mewtwo Mew team up is really counterfeited quite often, because it's a couple $100 card. One of the things I would say to look for, especially for the secret rares, the full arts, is the texture, right? Most people, they get kind of a holographic gradient paper, they make a photocopy, so you lose all texture. But if you look very, very closely, the full arts secret rares will have a texture to them. Each card is different because the pattern is different, but you'll see, ridges on the top. So get them to send you a picture of a close-up of a secret rare or whatever, and if you don't see texture and it's just completely flat, there's probably an issue you want to dive into. Now, the exception to the rule are these types of full art cards. You don't have to lean back.
Okay.
You're good. Full art cards, and these are completely textureless, but you can see the quality on the front is very clear. It's not pixelated. The hologram between the tail, you can see, right? It's kind of screened on. A lot of times what you'll see is, they might copy this out and dump it in. So the hologram in the middle right here will just be matte. It'll be very flat. You won't see like the holographic background.
Okay.
Right. So, Mew's tail has kind of a loop. So in the middle, like you just see it as kind of a flat, kind of a flat,
Like
color
the body.
like the body.
Okay,
right?
okay.
It's because what they do is they'll cut it out and just kind of print it on the card. It's all a form of photocopying.
Okay.
Right. So just check out your cards, look for the details. I think one of the things that people also say is, rip your card, right? So I have a Sacrificial Nickit here.
I was heartbroken that he cut cards. He did not prepare me for this.
I cut a bunch of commons that had edge damage anyways. We were going to donate them, so I figured this was going to a good cause. But a lot of people tell you to rip cards because what you're looking for is, if you look very closely at the edge right here, right? Pokemon cards, you'll see a white layer with a black layer and a white layer. So if you look very, very closely, it shouldn't be just a solid layer of like thick white cardboard. It should be a white layer, like a very, very thin line of black, and then another, black layer or another white layer in the middle. It looks like a sandwich.
Okay.
So the reason for that, and I will tear this card a little bit so you guys can see, is how they print it and the ink that kind of gets saturated into the middle. This is what I'm talking about. So I tore it kind of at an angle so you guys can see, right? There is the white part is the paper. There's a very thin black layer in the middle, where the ink is. And then there's also another white layer on the back, right?
Oh, okay.
So it looks kind of like a sandwich layer.
Okay.
What people will do is counterfeiters will also try to buy, cardstock the same way and then just photocopy it onto the top. So there's really no ink transference or anything like that. So you don't get kind of that middle black layer.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then so those are the details. If you guys have any other tricks, tips that you guys look for that has served you well, leave a comment down below. I'm really curious on what else we can look for, but those are the biggest things that have kind of, triggered a good buy versus a bad buy for us, right? And of course, if it's local, try to get your hands on them, try to see them. I know in this current environment, it's very, very tough. But any good seller that actually cares about their product, I think would be happy to send you more pictures, videos, whatever you're looking for, just to make sure you're comfortable and they're comfortable, with this stuff going to a good home.
Right. It goes back to what you said at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Do they stand behind their product?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, think about it. If you're going to buy a used car and you're like, hey, are there any problems with it? And they're like, oh,
great.
It's great. Don't worry about it. And you don't ask any questions. Well, you're kind of taking all the risk. Right? I don't think anyone would really do that and just go into a car dealership and just, whatever car, even if it's on fire, take the salesman's word for it. You'd at least want to do your diligence. So I think this is the same lesson, same principle. Do your diligence, spend your time, right? Because it is your money. And, worst case is if you don't care about the money and this is your passion, what you don't want is you buy an awesome collection, right? You're storing it away, you're saving it for your kids or whatever, and then 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, you pull it out and you realize it's all counterfeit, right? That's probably the worst case scenario for us.
Yeah.
Just that loss in investment, that personal investment, right? And then the last thing that has always been at really the top of my list is read the rules. This is the most important thing that you can do, because if all else fails, right? If your rip card test, passes, if the alignment test passes, if everything looks good, this is what will save you. Read the rules. And I'm going to say it again because people don't read the rules. Read the rules, okay? And what I mean by that is every platform that you can possibly buy stuff on right now has some sort of protection program for the buyer, right? eBay does, Facebook Marketplace does, Mercari does. Pretty much any online platform has some sort of check and balance so that you at least have a sense of protection if you receive your product, you get your hands on it, and you have a major issue with it, okay? The reason I say this is, I'll take Mercari for example. Mercari is a buy-sell online store, kind of like, Facebook Marketplace, eBay. People can list stuff, sell stuff, and, once you receive your product, you rate the seller, right? You can say, hey, it was a great transaction, product looks great, shipping time was great, whatever it is. Here's where people get screwed up. People will buy counterfeit stuff, receive counterfeit stuff, rate the seller saying, hey, I give the seller 1 star because this was a counterfeit product. Because they didn't read the rules, what happens is once you rate the seller, it closes the transaction and you take responsibility and you own it. Right? Yes, you left a 1-star negative review, but you just lost X amount of hundreds or thousands of dollars on this counterfeit product that you bought, right? So, we have dealt with, Mercari before personally. We've received something that, someone was selling, a toy or whatever. It wasn't in the condition, or it was, kind of a knockoff or whatever it is. And I didn't rate the seller. I opened a case. I went through the program. I had an idea of what the rules meant, and I was able to return it, get my money back. And, Mercari was able to step in and kind of protect us, right? Same thing for eBay. There is buyer and seller protection. You just have to be able to navigate the rules and follow the rules. Facebook Marketplace has that too. So, I'm kind of picking on Mercari as an example. But that's one of the biggest things that you see on Mercari is people complain like, hey, there was no help for me. Well, you kind of did it to yourself by closing out the transaction.
Yeah.
Right. So read the rules, make sure where you're buying from has, counterfeit protection, make sure that they spell out within the guidelines, counterfeit products are not allowed, make sure that, they offer some sort of buyer protection and that you understand how it works. If they offer it and you don't understand how that works,
it's on you.
That's on you, my friends. Right. So I think, for me, that's always the first thing I do. Wherever we're about to go, try to buy some stuff, for our own collection, whether it's toys or whatever it is from other people. That's the first thing I do is I'll read through the rules. I'll know exactly if this goes sideways, how do I handle it? And then I'll give them a fair shot, right? But I need to at least understand that.
Details. The details guy.
The details guy.
I'm the 1-star girl.
Yeah. Okay. I have a card I want to sell you. Well, we'll do it on an app.
I've received my training now. I cannot be fooled.
Yep.
And neither can you.
So hopefully that helps you guys. None of this is really, a hidden secret or rocket science or anything, but I do think it's just valuable enough to, kind of remind you guys and remind ourselves as well. And then I do think worst case, if you're not comfortable, right? If you're not 100% comfortable, don't buy it. Like, just don't buy it. If you have any reservations, if you're just a little iffy on the seller or whatever, don't buy it, right? Walk away. There is no such thing as a once in a lifetime deal. It might not be as good. It might be different later on, but more stuff will come your way, right? As long as you keep looking, there'll always be opportunities, but, don't put all your eggs in one basket and just be like, hey, I have to get it or I'll never have this opportunity again.
Yeah.
I don't think that, that happens too often. So that's just my feedback. Anything you want to add or anything that you've gone through with us?
No, the Mercari thing was the biggest thing for me. And I was so thankful for you knowing what we were actually doing because half of the time I don't. And, knowing what to look for when it came to Mercari, we were able to say, hey, this is what it's supposed to look like. This is what they sent us. It's not the same thing. And because we had real product to actually submit photos side by side and show
from our
them.
own collection, right? So we knew like the toys that we had and stuff like that. Hey, here's what a legitimate toy should look like. Here's what they sent us. Here's all the differences. They asked us to take some picture. I went full like legal case on them. I had side-by-side comparisons. I was quoting like websites and stuff. I mean, I went to town.
Details.
Yeah. So, I think just kind of be aware. And, outside of that, have fun with it. Not everyone's a bad person. Not everyone's out to get you. But, if you do your diligence, you can usually separate the good from the bad. Right?
Yeah. If something feels fishy, there's a reason.
Yep. So hopefully this helps you guys. Leave a comment down below if you guys can continue to support us. Give us a like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell. We would love to hear from you guys. Any other tips and tricks you have for us or for the community. Again, we're also on Instagram as well. So if you want to chat with us there, send us a message. If you guys can follow us first so we know, to kind of pay attention to that. We get a ton of messages. So we just want to make sure we don't, lose you guys in the shuffle. Okay, so thanks again for watching and supporting us, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.